Hello there. If you have a project manager interview coming up shortly, then this is the video for you. In this video series, we have covered the questions related to project schedule management. Let's get started. As always, we will use a simple case study which will make the concepts easy to grasp. A large IT company based in New York was developing a mobile food ordering application for a popular restaurant Vegan Gardens owned by Jane. Mary was assigned as the project manager to manage the end-to-end development of the application. Let us use this simple case study to see how Mary handles the stakeholders and faces the challenges while interacting with them. Question number 17. How do you define the project schedule? The project schedule is a time-bound plan that outlines the sequence and duration of activities required to complete a project. It includes the start and finish dates of each activity, dependencies between activities, milestones, and the allocation of resources necessary for project execution. Mary, the project owner, developed a project schedule that served as a roadmap for the project to ensure that the tasks were completed in a timely manner to achieve the project's objectives using various tools and techniques. Question number 18. What are the key elements in a project schedule? The key elements in a project schedule are essential components that provide crucial information about the project's timeline and sequence of activities. These elements ensure that the project progresses in an organized and structured manner, facilitating effective planning, execution, monitoring, and control. The key elements of a project schedule are: list of activities. Mary prepared a comprehensive list of all the individual tasks or activities required to complete the project. Activity durations. She estimated the time required to complete each activity as they were crucial for planning and sequencing activities. Dependencies. She created logical relationships between activities indicating which activities must be completed before others can start or finish, since it helps in determining the critical path and potential project delays. Milestones. She made a list of significant events or achievements in the project timeline that mark the completion of key phases or deliverables. Resources. Resource allocation for each task was done to avoid resource overload. Project start and finish dates. The planned start and end dates of a project representing the overall time for the project completion were mentioned. Critical path. She mentioned the sequence of activities that determined the project's overall duration and had zero float or slack, since any delay in activities on the critical path directly impacted the project's completion time. Float or slack was included. This is the amount of time an activity can be delayed without affecting the project's overall duration. Gantt chart. She prepared a visual representation of the project schedule showing the start and finish dates of each activity, dependencies, milestones, and the critical path. Resource histogram. A graphical representation of resource allocation over time, helping to identify resource overloads or gaps, were made. Baseline schedule. She used the original approved version of the project schedule as a reference point for measuring and managing project progress. Schedule performance metrics. Mary jotted down the metrics such as schedule variance (SV) and schedule performance index (SPI) that indicated how well the project was adhering to the schedule and meeting deadlines. By including these key elements in a project schedule, Mary effectively planned, executed, and controlled projects, ensuring successful and timely project completion. Question number 19. What tools and techniques do you use to develop a project schedule? How do you ensure it is accurate? Let us look at the tools and techniques used by Mary for developing a project schedule. First, she created a work breakdown structure WBS like UI or UX design, which included wireframe creation, mockup design, UI development. Then backend development, which included API design, database setup, integration with payment gateway, and so on. She then developed a Gantt chart using Trello to visually represent the project timelines and identify critical path. Other tools like Microsoft Project, Asana, an online tool, can also be used. Mary then estimated the accurate time using the technique expert judgment. This can also be done by other estimation techniques like analogous estimation, that is comparing with similar projects, parametric estimation like using historical data, or 3-point estimation, optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely estimates. She then did critical path analysis by analyzing the dependencies between tasks and prioritized activities. Resource allocation was done for development, designing, and testing. She then added some buffer time considering potential delays due to unforeseen circumstances. For example, allocate an extra week for unexpected challenges in testing or deployment. Then finally, the milestones were set. Question number 20. What is the critical path method CPM? The critical path method or CPM is a project management technique used to determine the longest sequence of dependent tasks in a project called the critical path. It helps to identify the minimum time required to complete the entire project and highlights the tasks that must be completed on time to avoid project delays. After creating the work breakdown structure, Mary identified task dependencies like which task must be completed before beginning the other. For example, backend development cannot begin until the UI or UX design is complete. Then she estimated the duration for each task. UI or UX design 4 weeks, backend development 8 weeks, front-end development 6 weeks, testing 3 weeks, deployment 2 weeks. She created a network diagram to visualize the task dependencies and identified the critical path, which is the longest sequence of tasks that determine the project's overall duration. She closely monitored the tasks and optimized them to complete the tasks within the estimated durations to avoid any delays in the project. Question number 21. How do you identify and manage project schedule risks to avoid delays and ensure timely completion? By following a systematic 3-step approach, that is risk identification, risk analysis, and risk response planning, a project manager can proactively manage potential delays and ensure the timely completion of the project. Firstly, Mary conducted brainstorming sessions with the stakeholders to identify potential risks related to technology, resources, scope, requirements, and external factors like market changes and so on. She also identified the common risks and challenges faced by teams through previous project experience and used a checklist to not to overlook any common risk. Here she identified the possible delays in backend development due to a complex payment integration and scope creep challenges due to frequent changes in requirements. She also sought inputs from experts and consultants in app development and project management to get a fresh perspectives on potential risks. Secondly, she did risk analysis by performing both qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, she assessed the impact and likelihood of each identified risk and categorized them as low, medium, and high. In quantitative analysis, she assigned numerical values to risks to estimate their impact on the project timeline. As a part of risk response planning, she developed mitigation and contingency plans, for example, arranging for backup resources in case a critical development team member takes off due to unavoidable reasons during the development phase. She then monitored and controlled the risks by getting regular project risk updates and activating contingency plans. Number 22. How do you handle changes to the project schedule during the execution phase and maintain alignment with the project objectives? In case you want to handle changes to the product schedule, first assess the impact of the change requested. When Jane proposed addition of loyalty point system after the development had already begun, Mary assessed the impact it can have on the project delivery, time and budget. Since this feature would increase customer engagement and retention, Mary prioritized it against existing tasks and objectives. She evaluated how much time and resources would be needed to design, development, test and integrate the loyalty points system into the app. She reallocated the resources and also considering bringing in extra help. She also developed risk mitigation plans. She communicated the revised schedule to the project team and the stakeholders to ensure everyone was on the same page. Mary emphasized Jane about the benefits of the loyalty points system to justify the modification in the schedule and budget. Question number 23. What is the difference between fast tracking and crashing in project schedule compression? Fast tracking and crashing are two techniques used in project schedule compression to accelerate the project timeline and meet deadlines. Fast tracking involves overlapping or executing project activities in parallel that were originally planned to be performed sequentially. Disadvantage of this method can be that it can increase the risk of errors and rework. For example, the development of user interface UI design can be started while the backend programming is still in progress, potentially reducing the overall development time. But there are chances of redundant fields on screen being developed without having any actual functionality involving it, like a click to action button to track the delivery of food live when the feature not being developed functionally with respect to backend. Crashing involves allocating additional resources or funds to critical project activities to expedite their completion. This technique focuses on reducing the duration of specific tasks by adding more resources, usually at an increased cost. Crashing works well when there are constraints on specific activities that can be addressed by adding more resources. For example, it was pre-decided to test the application manually, but later on it was decided to develop automated scripts using a robust tool to test the application, which required automation testing engineers, which was way more expensive. Question number 24. How do you monitor and control project progress against the schedule, and what actions do you take when there are deviations? Monitoring and controlling project progress against the schedule is a vital aspect of project management to ensure that the project stays on track and deviations are addressed promptly. Mary began by tracking the project progress in terms of completed tasks, milestones achieved, and overall project percentage completion by using project management software, Gantt charts, and regular updates from the project team such as UI design, backend development, testing, and deployment. She then encountered a deviation when the development team reported that the UI design phase was taking longer than expected due to design revisions and technical challenges. This would be a deviation from baseline schedule. A root cause analysis was done along with the whole team, and they came to a conclusion that there was a delay in UI design due to unexpected complexities in implementing certain features, leading to the need for additional design iterations. The impact of this delay could affect backend development and testing, and the overall project completion date could be at risk. Mary worked with the design team to expedite the UI design process by allocating more resources to focus on critical design elements. The project schedule was also adjusted accordingly. She also communicated about the delay in UI design and the actions taken to Jane, the restaurant owner. Question number 25. How do you communicate the project schedule to stakeholders and ensure they understand their roles and responsibilities? Communicate the project schedule clearly and regularly to the stakeholders through status reports, meetings, or project management software. Engage stakeholders in scheduled discussions, clarify their roles, and emphasize the importance of meeting deadlines for project success. Mary had open communication channels and also provided training sessions for stakeholders who might need to understand specific aspects of the project, such as how the app works or how to use the project management tool.